Radiant team ban. Radiant team
for the
pick.
trees.
Dire team pick.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL One Manila Filipino qualifiers. We're going to be taking a look here. Game number 3 between Mineski, Sports 5, and TNC Pro Team should be absolutely fabulous. Super excited to be bringing you the coverage. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Scant Sir. We're seeing a couple of changes. Nature's Prophet gets through again. A lone druid. Chen's not going to be here. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? And who do you think is going to end up taking this one here? Hello? You there? Are we good? Oh my goodness gracious. It's perfectly fine. I'm sure that everything is going to be good. Scant, if you do end up being able to hear me, just call, blink your eyes twice. We'll work something out. We'll send a rescue party to Australia. I'm sure that there'll be people down there, but regardless, we'll be talking about this draft right here from the start. Gracious. It does look like it's going to be the bands out of, as I mentioned, the Chen, the Bounty Hunter, the Beastmaster, and the Batrider. That led us into the first pick, Nature's Prophet, Lone Druid, Vengeful Spirit, and the Earth Spirit. And last but not least, Miss Enchantress. So she is going to be gone. That's pretty interesting. I like the Earth Spirit taken fairly early here for TNC. You get that in combination with the Nature's Prophet, and all of a sudden it's going to put you into a situation where
Radiant team ban.
look like my phone call on Skype with Scant ended up dropping out, so we'll try and get him back here as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, I'll just continue to do my my own individual broadcast, and hopefully he didn't die. So cross your fingers, everybody, or type F into chat to pay respects to Scant until we hear from him again. As I was saying, the sort of very mobile starting lineup here of Nature's Prophet or Spirit, if they wanted to, you know, you get that rolling boulder into the mid lane to try and catch out whoever it is that they ended up sending there, and then simultaneously have like a Nature's Prophet rotate in with a TP teleportation and a Sprout, and suddenly almost anybody is going to end up dying in that mid lane. So that's something that you really need to be careful about, and Mineski might need to think about going for something along the lines of a Slippery Puck or another hero like that that's going to be able to avoid the gank. With the Lone Druid and Vengeful Spirit taking on their own side, it's kind of similar to what we saw in the previous game, game number 1, I would say, where Mineski, it was actually TNC though that was running it, where they had the Lone Druid, Vengeful Spirit, and a couple of others, and actually go back for the Drow Ranger now, my goodness. But a lot of single target against the push that came. Now, Drow Ranger allows you to win your lanes in a pretty convincing fashion. The thing that's kind of interesting about this is I was not expecting it in conjunction with the Lone Druid. Regardless, I still think it's okay, but it's just a little bit weird.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Now it looks like Scant is alive, so we're good. Scant is alive. Again, to bring you guys all up to speed, it's 1-1 right now in the series. Mineski took game number 1. TNC was down and out pretty freaking low previously, and then he ended up being able to bring it back just by the sort of dual core combo that they had of the Lone Druid, who was able to get his Radiance up in time against the Drow Ranger strat that they were running, and as well as the PL. And they just didn't really have an answer for either the PL or the Lone Druid. So this time around, we're going to be seeing the Bane taken. The Nightmare there going to be pretty good for catching people somewhat out, as well as maybe being able to roam around. I think the biggest thing for this is at least trying to find a hero that gives you very strong laning potential. Bane is somebody that's going to be able to right-click away with the best of them in that off lane, potentially even the Lone Druid himself. They could think about going back for a Mirana here if they wanted to. It's not something that we see all that often in the SEA scene, but it's still a strong combo, and the Bane-Mirana combo in particular can be incredibly potent. That would, of course, mean that it would need to be something along the lines of a safe lane Mirana, which isn't the most popular in the world, but I still think is somewhat okay. Meanwhile, Invoker is going to be taken for Mineski. So I'm assuming that this is going to end up being a Ben-Hur Invoker. He played the Enchantress in the previous game in the mid lane against the PL, and it worked pretty well. I liked what we saw there. I will say that it felt a little bit lackluster as far as the translated into the later game damage. Like, you can throw out the impetuses from afar, but if you're going up against a PL, unless you're able to identify which one is the real one, which isn't the easiest when you're like running a Vengeful Spirit Witch Doctor combo, it felt to me like there was too many issues inherent within the draft where they weren't able to deal with the PL. And I think that picking a much more versatile hero like the Invoker, who is able to have wave clear himself, is going to be able to alacrity up the Drow Ranger. We might end up seeing this end up being the Quas Wex. That was what the Invoker was that Teehee ran earlier, although the much more rage style is going for, just the Quas Exort. Regardless, it looks he's going to be back in a few minutes, so should be fine. Dota 2 is going to continue on. It's all good, guys. Don't even worry about it. Dota 2 is going to happen. We're going to be here to talk about it, and it's all going to be lovely. So fourth pick coming out now from TNC after the PL and the OD have already been taken out of the pool. They're going to be going for the Spectre, so pretty strong. I will say that picking a Spectre against a lineup that has the potential to push like this, if you think about this, Invoker could still go like Quas Wex and then just have the extra bonus damage from Drow Ranger to help him win his lane, or he could like double down on it and go for the Forged Spirits build, and even think about like translating into a something else like a Necronomicon. Like, I doubt that that's what he would do in the early stages. Much more likely that he goes for positioning based items. But regardless, it's the idea of just pressuring down lanes and dominating them and then being able to take those towers early and often. And how does Spectre deal with that? The best way that Spectre is going to be able to deal with it is by going for haunts when the rest of her team is in a favorable position, and then you throw in that last little chunk of damage that you need to be able to win the team fight and make it go your way. And then suddenly Spectre has 1 billion gold, a Radiance, or maybe she ends up going for the Drums Manta style. Whatever it ends up being, these are the things that really come online and allow this hero to be a predominant force. And the other thing about this that does work is that if you do manage to be able to sort of break through that initial burst of damage that Mineski deals out with a really intense pressure, it's a great counter to Drow late game, because you haunt and you're immediately on top of her, and you can throw out the Diffusal Blade, you just jump right on top of him, and it's freaking great. I will say now, though, that with Mineski doubling down and going for the essentially position 4 Visage, this is going to be 1 billion damage coming out from all of those little birds. They did change Drow Ranger's aura, of course. I think it was about a patch, maybe a patch and a half ago or something, where you have to toggle it on, or rather use it as the really long cooldown.
5 seconds remaining.
And then you get like the bonus damage that's dealt by the birds, which if you're able to do that and you make it work, that's the way that you want it to go. But a last pick TA by TNC. We did see Teehee run this in the previous series they played today, which was about, at this point, I want to say 3 hours ago roughly, and they played it to great effect. I will say that Mineski is a much more difficult test than they saw in their previous best of 3 series. Basically, TA just got completely and totally out of control and got a Desolator at like, I don't know, some absurd time, and then just took down Roshan, and they won from there. It's not going to be as easy against this Invoker, and it does sort of make me think that the Invoker matchup, he's probably going to end up going for an early Urn and, just being the straight-up Exort Quas builds that way he can transition into do. I mean, you could go for control against the TA. It's pretty nice, but I like the idea of maybe just going for the Forged Spirits build. You can get all of those instances of refraction taken down very, very rapidly, and you'll be in a great position to sort of scale well into the later stages also. Regardless, we'll wait for my co-caster to be able to fix his computer and everything else that's going on with it. We're going to do a quick little introduction for all the fine folks here on the map. Up on the northeast side of this battleground, Jesse Vash is going to be playing the Visage. We've also got Raging Potato on the Lone Druid in the off-lane position. Ben-Hur is going to be playing the Invoker. Jules is going to be on that Vengeful Spirit. And last but not least, we got Lyerley, who's going to be on the Drow Ranger. Down in the southwest, he is going to be the TA. We've got Raven on the spec. It's going to be Sam playing his Nature's Prophet, I believe, right there. Yeah, they kind of look similar when they're all smoked up. And then Winter G's Small Son is going to be playing the Bane. Last but not least, AU on his Earth Spirit. And it looks like for the moment they might end up running into a lone druid. He's smoked up on his own accord, and they are going to be able to jump forward. They throwing it on out, but not going to be able to catch the rolling bowler. Raging Potato runs away, but they have been able to catch the Nightmare, and now he's in a lot of trouble. Hemmed in on each and individual side. They're going to be able to chase him down. The tower doing a lot as well. Can't actually find this one. Oh, he goes for the Fairy Fire. It's going to keep him alive for the moment. They're diving under tower for this one, trying to find Raging Potato, but they're just not going to be able to make it work. He's going for the tango dodges into the trees, trying to get away as quickly as possible. They're not able to find him yet. He's trying to hide away, running this way and that. He's going to be able to get out. It looks like they have another rolling bolt in 3 seconds. Can he escape? The rest of his team is out of there. They're going to rolling boulder, but they do end up being able to catch him, and now he might end up dying for it. He does eventually go down, but maybe AO is going to go down as well. They have the cold snap turnaround. This looks like Teehee is dropping fairly low, but they're not going to be able to kill her off, I don't think. Getting the body blocks from the trance. Never mind magic missiles there. They have another cold snap in just a couple of seconds. 7. They throw out the soul assumption, already barely alive. The right clicks coming out from Jules don't look like they're going to quite be enough. They do end up popping the clarity, and now she's maybe in a little bit of trouble. Has to run off the other direction. They have the counter initiation slowed down so much by that rolling boulder and the orb of venom, but they haven't been able to kill her off as of yet. Still slowed, but not dead. There's the turnaround magic missile. The team fight that started so far away. TA ends up denying herself to a creep, but AU is going to go down. What the hell is even going on? My goodness. The end total is just 1-2, but more importantly, it looks like Mineski have been able to get off to a decent start. Like, they drew all of that aggro across the map, and, you know, T had denied herself to neutrals. This mid lane is going to be great. What a freaking start to this game. Well, Jules is down in the bottom lane with the Drow Ranger, and they've got auras abound. The Avenge actually hasn't leveled hers up yet, but it's some good stuff. Against the Spectre, this is really going to hurt her in lane. It's also worth noting that even though the Bane is here to help out, because this Earth Spirit, like, they're getting aggressively dual laned, I don't think Earth Spirit can leave the lane as often as he would want. Like, they're actually getting aggressively tri-laned. You've got a Visage familiar, you got Visage here, you've got Vengeful Spirit. All of these heroes are in the area, and they just do so much freaking damage. I'm honestly very, very scared for how this is going to end up working. And the Sentry Wards, they're going back and forth, are going to be able to take them out. Do we have any more on the side of the Radiant? They actually don't. So because of that, they're going to have to sit with their key blocked continuously. Worth noting, mid lane TA is going to self back up. With the Forge Spirits being up and online, you got to be careful. We got Paul coming in. Does look like Senor Scant is going to be joining us for the moment. How you doing, man? We got you back in.
I'm alive again. I apologize to anyone watching about like these bizarre my computer breaks issues, but Drow Ranger looks in trouble right now.
Yeah, it does look like they're going to be able to catch her. And Winter G Small Sun dropping low. Are they going to be able to make this work? Sunstrike didn't even need to get committed. Jesse Vash is dropping low, as is Jules. They end up being able to get the double stun off, dropping pretty low, and they end up finding that kill. Nicely done, but it looks like Raven might end up being in a little bit of trouble as well. The chase continued. Haven't been able to find it yet, and actually Drow's back and ready to party. Sam is dropping pretty low himself. He's going to end up dying to the tower. Man, this game is freaking crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to say right before my computer broke that TNC got first pick again, and first pick the Nature's Prophet again. And so far, the first 2 games, the team that got first pick and first pick the Nature's Prophet won. Obviously that doesn't speak to everything. I also wanted to say that we should look at the mid lane, and it does look like Teehee's having a difficult time, yes again, in the mid lane. They gave him a TA, which makes it's a hero that really is difficult to have a hard time on, but he's a little bit behind. I mean, both he and the Invoker are miles behind where the Lone Druid is.
Oh god, and you see up top, bottom as well, like, every lane feels like it's going well. I mean, you're saying that you think that this lane should have gone better for the TA here?
I mean, it's alright. My question is more about, like, has the Lone Druid been farming treants? Is that what's been happening? Like, how does he have that many more creeps than everyone else? He must have been farming Nature's Prophet's treants. I can't think of any other way.
That seems to be the big thing that's ended up happening. I will say that Nature's Prophet has also been rotating around a lot. Like, he has had to move around a ton. The Earth Spirits had to be there. There was a wacky exchange that happened. By the way, Teehee is, I think, about to die in the mid lane again. They end up being able to get the Soul Assumption that comes off from the high ground, but it would have been a kill regardless. Yeah, it's just been so back and forth, and you see right now it's basically been free farm for Sam, while down here in the bottom lane, Spectre's been really pressured.
Yeah, this. At what stage did Mineski pick Lone Druid? Was it toward the end of the draft?
No, it was right at the start. It was like a Lone Druid Venge opening, I want to say.
And then it became a draw strategy with Lone Druid. Because this is like, I said in the previous game that TNC are experts on draw strategies, but I don't know that I've ever seen any team do a draw strategy that had a Lone Druid in it. It's like quite surprising.
Yeah, they picked it third after the Venge, and worth noting, Jules is about to die here. It looks like Raven. Oh, the chase continues. Fairy Fire, but not going to be there. And now Drow's going to have to TP away. So drawing fire. The whole thing started with like a chase behind the tier 2 tower of the Dire in the top lane by the Radiant at like before the Horn, and they almost like were able to kill off the Earth Spirit, but they couldn't chase, or they're almost able to kill off the Lone Druid, but they couldn't quite chase him down all the way. It was completely and totally wacky and crazy. And I don't even know. It was a really nuts exchange, and then it ended up being like 1 to 2 kills, and you're seeing here at 5 minutes it's 4 to 6. It's just been ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, going back to the mid lane, T is not doing too bad. I mean, in the first 2 games, he really got completely shut down, and he's a bit behind the Invoker here. But especially once the Invoker gets spritz up, that's likely to happen. The point is he's not being totally shut down, so it'll probably provide a different dynamic to this game, where in the early sort of post lane stage, he might be more involved in setting the pace of the game than he has been able to be in the previous 2 games. As for Mineski, I just look back to the fact that they're running a draw strategy with the Visage, with the Invoker, like a full-on draw strategy, and just throw in a Lone Druid. And I feel like if this game's gonna be different to the last game, in the sense that last game they had just the draw window. In this game, I think there's not pressure on them. I think that they can go very easy.
Oh god, here's the haste turn coming on in, and it looks like dropping fairly low. Invoker is actually just gonna be able to turn around onto this Earth Spirit, and the Sunbreak kill finishes him off. I mean, I will say I would agree with you that in terms of the CS, you know, TA's been able to keep up with the Invoker to some extent. She's not getting completely and totally destroyed, but she's also 0-3 right now. So with the dives that we've seen and just the incredible pressure from the side of Mineski, she's been having a lot of trouble farming, and they actually end up translating over to this. Lone Druid's going to TP away. He went for the Savage Roar first and is going to be able to get out. Bear just poofed home. Nobody decides to right-click it. I don't know. This is... TNC look frazzled.
Yeah, it's looking really bad for TNC, honestly, and TA is not the kind of hero. I mean, we can go back and forth about, like, she's struggling, but she's getting farm, but she's struggling, but she's getting farm. She doesn't want to be playing from behind, that's for sure. So if she's missing, if we look at the net worth, it's all totally different stories to the last hits, where she's got half the net worth of the Invoker, whether or not she's close to his last hits.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make before is that Mineski's lineup can still hit the drow timings. I mean, Lone Druid is not a, like, sure, you don't necessarily get the benefit of the drow because your Spirit Bear is not ranged. Your hero actually is ranged, but that's not something people usually pay attention to with the Lone Druid. But it's still good at pushing. So the lineup can still hit that early pushing window, but it also has like massive late game potential. So in this case, we don't have TNC just like, okay, hang on until you hit your timings, you'll be fine. Even though they have a Spectre and a TI, I think that Mineski could just hold the lead that they have, not feel pressure to try and like win the game really quickly like they did last game. Yeah. And I think they're looking pretty hot right now.
Absolutely. You know, you mentioned there the ranged bear guy. I was actually debating if he was going to end up going the bearless build, which I haven't seen in a while since the resurgence of Lone Druid, but it would have been pretty funny to be able to go for that with the ranged hero version of himself. Regardless, still just applying so much pressure to the Spectre. And, you know, you talk about scalability, and I would completely agree with you that I think Mineski are in a very favorable position in terms of building this lead and not being pressured into ending the game. But I will say that the Spectre's a pretty nice answer for the Drow if they get into the mid game. You get Haunt in on top of her, and it can cause a lot of trouble. I guess the only thing that I'm really worried about is how does the Lone Druid match up against the Spectre if they do get to the late stages?
I mean, they're both reasonable against each other. It depends on what items they go for, how farmed they are, their farm relative to each other. My concern for TNC is that I just think the Mineski's overall lineup scales incredibly well. It's not just about the Lone Druid or the Draw, even the Invoker, even the Visage. Vengeful Spirit's a very hard scaling support hero actually. So it puts TNC in an awkward spot where even though they're the ones that are usually your team's a bit behind early on, you have a Spectre and you're like, okay, it's fine, we'll just catch up and win. I don't think that's necessarily the case. They're gonna have to do some serious outplaying at some point in this game, regardless. It's not just gonna be like, oh, we hit our timings, we hadn't lost yet, so now we'll win. That's never gonna happen in this game.
Yeah. So do you think then those types of outplays, is that going to need to be around particular items, like a drums up on a Spectre before Radiance comes online, or do you think that needs to be more about these supports and maybe picking up a Veil on the Earth Spirit or the Aether Lens on the Bane? Like, what do you feel like is the sort of momentum? Like, because clearly they have to win through team fights and then being able to take objectives afterwards, but what is it that they really need to push them over the top to be able to take those team fights effectively?
I mean, I always come back to it, but I do feel like in terms of items for TNC to win fights in the mid game, it's mostly about TE. He needs to hit the Desolator and the Blink Tag, and then he needs to get a big fight where he gets a bunch of shots off, hopefully with some Psyblade hits splashing onto other people. That's probably the biggest biggest like impact maker in terms of fight winning stuff for them this game.
Yeah.
I guess one really nice thing for TNC as the game goes later is that the Nature's Prophet could split push quite effectively. There's really that much of Mineski to stop him doing that. And by the way, it looks like he's probably just going drum with those 2 nulls. I was gonna say he might be going for Veil. Something that I saw yesterday in Dota Pit actually was Chelsea's Nature's Prophet going for Veil. It's become a lot more popular recently, but what chances are it's actually a drum? Yeah, it's just something that TNC like to do. You'll notice He's holding 2 Wraith Bands and Sam H holding 2 nulls. They quite often on their cores get like a few early items just to bolster themselves.
Yeah, and I think the Veil's kind of an interesting thing as well. Like, clearly it's probably going to be that drums, but I mean, I even saw the other day the ODO for the Veil first. Like, everybody feels like they're loving that item if they're a sort of strong, intelligence-based hero. Just what it gives you is so freaking good. But it does look like, again, they're just getting their farm on for the moment. Mineski, as we were talking about, has been able to build a sizable lead, about 3,000 gold and experience, and this hasn't translated into a ton of other items, but Invoker, level 10, and does have his Midas already completed. Like, he is in a really great spot right now, and considering he ended up going for this sort of Forged Spirits build, it does feel like he's going to try and think about finding a kill and then pressuring a tower potentially.
Yep, and I can't stress enough how different it is to last game's dynamic, where Mineski have a lead. Last game they also had a big lead with their draw, but this game they really can just sit and farm if they want and extend their lead and extend their lead and extend their lead, and there isn't that much pressure on them to do anything else. The pressure is absolutely on TNC to make players. And looks like TNC are going to try and go for the tier 1 bot lane, even bring in their Earth Spirit, but Mineski are ready for the fight. There's going to be some TP, there's going to be a smoke rotation, and Savage is down.
Yeah, that's a swap, that's a Sunstrike, that's everything right on top of them. Oh, they get the silence on small stun, and the Visage familiars are standing up as well. There's the Haunt FPS drop. It's just sort of the thing that ends up happening, but it doesn't translate into anything actually. So now no Haunt, no Nature's Prophet, no Bane. That's Roche time. I mean, they've got even a DD up on the Invoker. How did that happen all of a sudden?
This is just like game 1, to be honest. Like game 2 we had a situation where Mineski started ahead, but TNC always had a timing to make, and well, TNC are gonna go through this rush, but this is...
Oh, okay, they just both got stuck up on the cliffs. Raven on one, Earth Spirit on the other. Oh god, that was not the play. He went for the dagger to try and go in there, and oh my god, what even was that?
This is, I mean, this is the same as the push that happened before in the bot lane that led to TNC losing heroes and the rush actually happening. TNC are feeling desperate. This is like really early in the game, and they realize we're really far behind. We're not going to win by farming back into the game. We don't actually have great heroes to gank back into the game. So, you know, they go for the push, but it doesn't work. Now they try contest rush, doesn't work. Now Bane goes down. And the next, like, TNC are running out of options really quickly. And that's why I said it reminds me of game 1, where the game disappeared from TNC almost before it started.
It just, like, you look at the way that went, that engagement, like, Earth Spirit, he throws out Boulder Smash, he gets the stun on like 4 heroes, but then when he goes for the rolling boulder, he misses everybody. He literally just missed. and like he had his magnetize available. He could have gone in there, dropped down the magnetize, and the Spectre was trying to get into the midst of all of them, and then like they both go over these spectacular plays, and then they end up clipping themselves, both of them. Like it's just it feels like they're shaken a little bit by this lone druid pick in the midst of a drow strat. It's caught them off guard.
Yep, and again, he was successfully pressured early on in the game, and we talked a bit about, he got farm anyway, but he's not dictating the pace of the game, so we'll say it was a success shutting him down. He's got his Blink Dagger now. It might be the only item he gets this game in terms of like setting the pace. As things stand, they could just keep losing fights and he'll never get to a Desolator, so is he going to be able to make something with this Blink? He tries to, he thinks it on that work as a point, but...
Oh, that really hurts. That's everything. They are going to get a big magnetize out of this. This might be enough. Raven is actually as well, and maybe going to be able to bait out enough damage where they can make this worth it. Raven's dropping him very low. Oh god, but they get the counter initiation. The magic missile comes out. Aegis is now popped in. Jules is going to go down, but it looks like now they got Ben here back up and trying to piece. It does look like Sam's going to end up going down. Sprout not up in time. Sunstrike, it's not enough to bring them low, but regardless, that is, it looked like it was pretty good. It ends up being a fairly decent trade, and they do burn down the Aegis. So small little rays of sunshine in otherwise very bleak circumstances for TNC.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, for the position they're in, that's a good fight for TNC. Is it good enough to affect the state of the game? Not at all, not even close. So it's a tough thing. They need like a remarkable fight, not just a kind of good fight, all things considered. And I don't see where it's going to come from. Near the end of last game I said that TNC couldn't really lose unless they made huge mistakes, and I feel that way about Mineski's position right now already. At this stage, 15 minutes into the game, I feel like if Mineski play a solid game, they probably close this out in the next 10 minutes.
Well, and they're certainly looking to make that happen, as Spirit Bear has been able to pick up his relic at 15 and getting close to being able to finish off the Radiance. But on the other side, the stuns have come out onto AU. They haven't decided to really fully commit to that one yet, but still, it's such a scary situation right here. They are going to just take down the tier 2 tower in the mid lane and head back up top, and now that the creep wave is up here, they're going to start to take this tower as well. Like, there's just nothing to stop them, and you've got a Lackery available on Invoker here. He's got his Forge Spirits going, like whatever they want to go for at this stage, they're in such a comfortable position, and it doesn't feel like they're ever going to stop. Like, Radiance is now up on the Lone Druid, and the biggest issue is that he doesn't have the courier available to get to him.
Yeah, that's first world problems, right?
Exactly.
TNC are going to go for the smoke. They do have the Fiend's grip. They should be able to easily kill someone if any hero actually, if they find them isolated between the Fiend's grip and the TA. Should be a kill. But they really want to count them. They really want to be a big kill because they find some, small support kills. It's not actually worth it at all.
Well, and they are underneath the Visage Familiars, but the Visage Familiars are not really high priority kills for them. They do still have the Lone Druid who's walking back home, and gank, it's just not going to succeed.
And he actually
find anybody.
He went back for the third Wraith Band. This is after his Blink Dagger. This is like, if there's ever a sign of like desperation, like, it's all or nothing right now. I'm gonna use my last scrap of gold for that third Wraith Band.
Well, and that's sort of a thing that I wonder. At a certain point in time, is it worth it to just try and you realize it's going to be so hard to win the game, and it's almost on the verge of impossible? Do you just try and preserve your mental state and move on to the next one, or is it worth it to play out every single time?
No, I think it's worth to play out every single time. I think Dota is a very complicated game, and there's lots of different ways to outplay the enemy team. There's lots of ways for them to make mistakes, and I think I actually appreciate NC's approach, and even what T's doing here, just buying that Wraith Band. It's kind of like we have some chance to somehow win a big fight, and let's give ourselves every opportunity that is possible.
Yeah.
It's a very small chance, but like recognize how that chance looks, and then play into that and only that.
Well, there we go, guys. There's a little bit of positivity for your pups. Bring it in there. Say, you know what? TNC didn't give up. We're not going to give up when our jungling Legion commander gets, boots at 31 minutes. Just never give up, guys. I'm not sure if it's the proper analogy, but we'll stick with it for the moment. Tier 2 tower does go down in the bottom lane. We've got, again, just everybody in the world is right here ready to go, and they're going to need something big. I feel like Earth Spirit needs to be that initiator, and with the Magnetize potentially able to come out. This could be a really big moment for him. He's able to make it work. Alacrity up on the bear. They get the Nightmare down as well. Going to be able to get off a pretty decent sized Magnetize with the Tornado through as well. They're going to be able to get the counter initiation. Bearman is going to end up going down. So they lose the Lone Druid. No more Radiance. Teehee does drop for it though. Might need to buy back. He does buy back immediately. Getting back to the fight. They have been able to kill off the Drow Ranger now too. So 2 are dead and now chasing after this Visage, but not going to be enough. He ends up getting hit with the Cold Snap. Oh god, this is going to be bad. He is going to end up going down. Oh no, goes for the meld. He's alive for the moment. Gets off his refraction charges. Still running away, and he's going to be able to blink out. So fine for the moment. They end up losing 2 for 2. Actually, excuse me, 4 for 2 with 2 buybacks. But even despite that, it's like almost worth it in terms of the net worth change.
It's the same thing that happened at the top lane. It's like, all things considered, pretty good TNC. But compared to what they need to do, not even close. It's like 1/10 of the way the kind of fight they need to actually turn the game around. It's actually like so difficult for Mineski to not do at least okay in a fight. It does, like, I feel like, you know, like much weaker players could take over for them at this point, and they'd still probably be favored in fights. It's like a monumental task for TNC. It's good that they keep trying, because they're getting something. They're like close enough that they can smell like, hey, if you know, these 3 or 4 things all went a bit better, maybe we actually win that fight.
Yeah. So I guess the question that I have then is what is it that you really need? Is it like one huge Earth Spirit Sun into like a Meld Strike Psyblades onto several heroes? Is that sort of the dream, or is it something to do with the Nightmare coming out from Bane from afar, or Sprouts? What do you think is sort of the key to the initiation here for TNC?
I mean, the way they did it there was pretty good with Earth Threats. And I think it's needed for Teehee to blink in on his TA, but unfortunately at the moment if he blinks in, he's almost certainly going to die. Same with the Spectre, if he realities in with his horns, he's almost certainly going to die. And really what they need is they need to wipe the enemy team somehow with one of their carries surviving the wipe.
Ooh, initiation turnaround. Jules dropping low. They're going to be able to jump onto him, and Raven is starting to get on top of this Drow Ranger. She's actually going to die. 2 caught in the Magnetize now. Oh, but they got the Chaos Meteor out. That's going to be a lot of damage going back Raven, and they do end up being able to get the roots, so Bearman's still alive for the moment. He does look like Raging Potato is going to start right-clicking people down. They've been able to get 3 already dead on the side of Mineski. Did manage to kill off, though, the Spectre, as well as the Earth Spirit, and now the T. Everybody is just dead, trying to get out of there. Sam is going to end up getting stunned up, and the right clicks are there as well. They have a secondary stun. He's not going to let TP out of here. The only person left alive now is the bear, though. So they were able to take that fight significantly better than anticipated.
Yeah, but it's, you know, if the TA or the Spec is the one that survives at the end and not the Bane, it's actually pretty good for TNC. That's what I was saying. They need one of their carries to live through that kind of fight. The fight starts really well because Mineski actually just caught out of position. They split up. They weren't grouped up. So first you can pick up one hero, then another hero. I think it was it the Drow and the Vanish that died really quickly before anyone else.
Yeah.
With that in mind, Mineski still managed to sort of trade evenly overall in terms of kills, and it would be a win for TNC if one of their carries lived through everything, got a ton of gold. But I mean, they each got about 1,000 gold each. It's still something, but yet again, it's not enough. And now they're gonna have to deal with an Aegis in the next fight. Maybe the Vin makes up for it to some extent. The Earth Spirit can do more work. He's got level 2 ulti now as well, so maybe the Earth Spirit's damage output's gonna actually take Mineski by surprise in the next fight, and that could change for TNC.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I kind of worry about though is like, we've talked about them being able to hold off. We've talked about TNC being able to survive, and that's all well and good if you've got a Spectre lineup against a Drow strat, but this is a Spectre lineup against a Drow strat with a lone Druid, and so not only do they need to be surviving, they really would love to be taking towers right now and being able to not allow them to hit this like late game power curve. So Mineski are being aggressive in a position where, you know, right now TNC loves to be taking towers, and just look at this bear. He just does so much damage, and they do end up throwing out the glyph, but to what end? They do jump forward now onto the Drow Ranger for the moment, but BKB's been popped, and they're not going to kill her off. She's just right-clicking away. They get the counter initiation from the EMP immediately. Nothing doesn't come of it. They're trying to jump back in again. Magnetize only onto 1. They do end up being able to get off Fiend's Grip as well, so that's all committed for the Aegis. 2 ultimates on that one, and it does look like the Radiance Burn is still going all throughout it. They get the Sprout on the bear, but he eats his way out with the Quelling Blade, and My goodness, that's just another range set of barracks gone. It's just too much damage.
Yeah, and that's the Aegis there for you. I mean, the game already looked really easy for Mineski, and with the Aegis, it's sort of too easy. You can just plant the Invoke at the front, and even if they play really well around it, the best they do is they take down the Aegis.
So you're saying it's too easy for Mineski?
Yeah, it certainly was with that Aegis. And now, like, even without the Aegis, they know that the Spectre doesn't have Haunt, so they're just gonna keep them going back in, and TA is not gonna get the Desolator on time, Nature's Prophet's not gonna get to a new item.
So
it's now or never.
I guess my question here, alright, it does look like, first of all, though, that's a pretty nice initiation. You stun up the Bear Jesse Vash as well. There's a lot of options. Magnetize is not going to be back up for another 15 seconds. They just need to hold out as long as possible. Still 2 more barracks are remaining. They've been able to Nightmare up the Bears, so this one's still alive for the moment, but dropping very quickly. The Raven jumps forward. They get off the Savage Roar through the Ice Wall. They swap him out. Oh, God, and now Spectre's taking a tough damage. He managed to Mantis Style off the Silence, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. He jumps in. Magnetize catches on to 3. That's pretty decent, but the BKB is going to be immediately taking it off. There's going to be the Deafening Blast forward. It does look like Sam is surviving on nothing, but the last strike comes through. He got the vision with the Sunstrike, and GG ends up getting called. Mineski, in spectacular fashion, bring a little bit of a series lead right now, 2-1 in the grand finals here for the Philippine qualifiers.
Yeah, and we continue the trend of the draft being extremely significant in old games. We do back the trend of the team that gets first pick Nature's Prophet winning, because TNC did get that this game and they still lost. But I do think that Mineski really surprised them in the draft. And secondly, yet again, Mineski put so much pressure on Tihi in the mid lane. And I really would be interested now that it's kind of like, if you lose your arts, to see TNC make more of an effort to guarantee Tihi's laning stage. I mean,